Guests remember how a retreat felt, not always about how it looked. So let's design the part that your guests will never forget. In this video, I'm breaking down the guest journey and operational pieces that make a retreat feel cohesive, grounded, and unforgettable. Because the most meaningful moments aren't created by decor, they're created by design. So let's start with something that most hosts feel but never really say out loud. So many creators believe that the guest experience is based solely on what people can see. The decor, the ambience, the curated touches, the beautiful tables and aesthetics that make everything look intentional and elevated. And yes, those things do matter. They set the tone, they set the mood, and they make the guests feel cared for right from the get-go. But somewhere along the line, we've come up with this idea, probably mostly from Instagram and Pinterest, that the visibility, the decor, all the beauty equals guest experience. That if a retreat looks elevated, then it will automatically translate into feeling elevated. But here's the thing. Styling helps support the experience, but it doesn't necessarily create one. You can pour your heart into every single detail and still walk away wondering, why didn't my retreat feel the way that I imagined? Why did the room feel flat even though everything looked beautiful? Why didn't guests drop in the way that I had thought they would? It's not because you failed or because you needed more decor. It's because you were pouring energy into the parts that people see, which is the easy part, and not thinking about the deeper layers that actually creates that feeling and that environment that you're trying to create. So the myth that we're trying to break today is that guest experience is not built on beauty alone. It's built with intentionality on things like your structure, your pacing, your transitions, on clarity, on emotional support, on the way you guide people through your retreat moment by moment. Beauty makes the space inviting, but the design is what makes the retreat meaningful. So if your retreat looked gorgeous but felt scattered, shallow, and didn't connect the way that you hoped it would, that's not a flaw. It just means that the journey that you created underneath it all just wasn't supported. And once you understand that, the retreat that you're trying to create becomes more possible without adding more pressure and weight on your plate. So let's talk about what the guest experience actually is, because it isn't a single moment, it's a series of moments that happen behind the scenes. The guest experience is the rhythm of the retreat. It's the emotional sequence that people go through from the moment they hear about your retreat all the way through until the retreat is over. People often use the word guest journey as a buzzword, but it is actually the thing that makes a retreat feel more meaningful instead of just beautiful. Here's a simple way to picture it. The guest experience isn't a moment. It's a sequence. It's a path that guests travel on from before, during, and after the retreat. And it shapes how safe, connected, and grounded they feel throughout the entire experience. And when you see it through that lens, everything becomes a little bit more clearer. So let's walk through the 3 phases. Phase 1, before the retreat. Are you holding me? This phase is where the experience begins, even though a lot of people don't even consider. Before guests even step into the room, they're already forming an opinion based on how clear and simple the communication was prior. Organized everything feels, whether or not they understand what to expect, and how supported they feel while preparing to arrive. If this phase feels confusing, rushed, or unclear, guests are going to carry that when they arrive. But when that phase feels calm, thoughtful, and intentional, guests arrive feeling grounded, ready, and excited for your event to begin. Phase 2 is during the retreat. Am I safe and am I being seen? Once the retreat begins, a lot of people like to think that the view and what they decor and what they see is what shapes the experience. But the real impact comes to the flow, how everything moves and breathes and supports people moment by moment. This phase is shaped by pacing that respects people's energy, clear direction, and the emotional tone that you hold in the room, how supported guests feel throughout the day as it unfolds, and whether the retreat feels stable and intentional. Guests don't need constant stimulation or perfectly orchestrated wow moments. They simply need clarity, space, and time to drop in and take everything in. The most meaningful breakthroughs often don't happen at the prettiest tables. They happen in those quiet moments of solitude and time to reflect. And phase 3, after the treat. Does this stay with me? This is the phase that a lot of people don't talk about, but it's the one that kind of brings everything together. After the retreat, guests are sorting through everything that they learn, taking in what shifts were made, and trying to determine what it is that they want to keep with them. This phase is shaped by thoughtful follow-up, space to reflect, clear next steps, and support as they return to daily life. Without it, the retreat becomes a beautiful memory, but with it, it becomes a turning point that they carry with them from now until forever. The guest experience isn't the room, it's the journey before, during, and after. Aesthetics make the space inviting, but design is what creates experience and depth. Guest experience and operations. A lot of people don't connect these two ideas, but guest experience is shaped by operations. Operations are what create emotional steadiness. They're what keeps the retreat grounded, steady, and when something feels off in a room, it often always comes back to something operational, not aesthetics. Here's what that can look like in real time. When the schedule is too tight, guests feel rushed. When the pacing is packed, people don't have time to settle in for the experience. Their attention begins to scatter and their conversation stays surface level. The room moves too fast for anything substantial to. The most beautiful space cannot override a schedule that doesn't allow for room to breathe. Another example is that when the flow isn't clear, the room can kind of feel a little uncertain. When the flow isn't clear, when guests don't know where they're going, when the next moment doesn't naturally open up, the room absorbs that uncertainty. People become hesitant, distracted, and pulled out of the experience. Another example is that when no one owns guest support, your guests will start to feel a little unsure about things. Support roles matter more than people realize. If guests are coming to you for every question, every little thing, that's moving you out of your leadership mode and into troubleshooting mode. And that's going to take you out of your zone, and that's going to shift the entire retreat. A retreat feels more grounded when that support is shared amongst the team and not carried all by one. Another example is when there's no interactive moment. That's going to lead to your engagement beginning to fade. When a retreat is mostly teaching and presenting, guests naturally become observers and their energy begins. The room gets quiet, but it's not that good kind of quiet where people are engaged and focused and actually listening. People don't want to be talked at. Interaction is what brings that group into the experience. Without it, your event's gonna fall flat. Here's what a lot of people don't realize. Thoughtful pacing helps people relax. Clear flow creates confidence. Support roles create ease. Interactive moments create connection. Space between moments help people absorb what it is that they're experiencing. Guests don't articulate these things. They simply feel it during the retreat when it's happening or if it's not. And you feel it too. So let's walk through the difference between a styled retreat and one that's intentionally designed. An aesthetics retreat is beautiful. Everything is curated, elevated, and thoughtfully put together. But underneath that visual polish, here's what often happens. Guests aren't totally sure where to go. Timing feels slightly off. Conversations stay on the surface. You end up answering questions nonstop. Sessions feel long or heavy, and the day looks amazing, but it doesn't feel put together or cohesive. The beauty is there, but it's exhausting. Now picture a retreat where it's not just designed visually, but it's emotional, spacious, and intentional. This retreat still may be just as beautiful, but it's no longer doing the heavy lifting anymore. Instead, your arrival feels smooth and welcoming. Each moment flows naturally into the next. Guests always know what's happening and what to do. The pacing supports the room instead of pushing it. The atmosphere feels grounded and steady. There are real opportunities for reflection and connection. This is the kind of retreat that people talk about later, not just about the looks, but the way it made them feel and what they experienced. And they share that with everyone else. And here's what a lot of people forget. This level of depth doesn't require more decor or production. It just comes from intentional design that has steady operations behind it. Nothing more. You don't need to overhaul your entire event to make it feel elevated. A few simple shifts can change how your event feels for both you and your guests. So here are a few simple upgrades that can make an immediate difference. Number 1, add one interactive moment each day. This doesn't need to be a big exercise or a huge breakout. It can be something tiny. It just needs to be something that allows your guests to feel like they're a part of the experience. Ideas for this could be a partner share, a quick table discussion, a reflection question, a 3-minute journaling moment, a QR code where their answers appear on the screen and are discussed, a moment where you ask the room a question and you build that into whatever it is that you're teaching. People want to be involved. They want to be connected to whomever is leading the room as well as to each other. Just one intentional interactive moment each day can completely shift the tone of the room. It moves people from listening to engaging, and that's what you want. Number 2, map the guest journey from their perspective. Instead of mapping the event off of your agenda and your schedule and what it is that you want, put yourself in their position and give them the guest experience that you would want to have. Ask yourself, if I were walking into this retreat, what would make me feel excited? What would make me feel as though I'm being taken care of? What would help me settle in? And what would help me open up? So then take out a piece of paper and write down first touch point and final touch point, and then fill in everything that happens in between. Registration, pre-retreat communication, arrival, opening, the session, the breaks, the meals, the closing, and the follow-up. This one simple map will show you where your experience feels supported and where things might feel rushed and still a little bit uncertain. You don't need to make it complicated. This is purely about getting an understanding of what it is that your guests are going to be going through. And 3, redesign one moment based on feeling. Choose one part of your retreat, just one, and design it based on the feeling that you want to create. It might be the start of day 1, the moment that people walk into the room, your first activity, the first meal, your closing. Ask yourself, how do I want guests to feel right here? Calm, connected, clear, supported, energized, and shape the moment around that feeling. It could be as simple as a small prompt, a clear instruction, slower pace, or a warm welcome cue. It's not about adding more, it's about shaping that moment with intention instead of letting things just happen. These upgrades are simple and they don't require a huge lift, but they shift the emotional tone of the event without overwhelming you. Designing a retreat with intention, pacing, and emotional flow turns your event from something just beautiful into something that is memorable. It's what they take home with them, and it's what lingers. But here's something that's often overlooked. Even the most beautiful, thoughtful experience only works if it's got steadiness and support behind the scenes. Because things do shift during live events. We're talking about the time, energy, weather, tech, people, and the hosts who navigate these things the smoothest aren't lucky, they're prepared. On the next video on your screen, I'm going to walk you through how you can anticipate some of these issues before they happen and how to create a plan so you can best prepare for them. It's a really simple process and it's going to help take away some of that stress that comes with event planning. Go ahead and click this video on your screen right now, and if you're finding this kind of support and these tips helpful for you while you're planning your events and retreats, go ahead and click subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.